Welcome to this webinar and information session on the Cardinal Newman Fellowship. We're so excited to have you and talk about our very new and exciting endeavor, the Catholic Institute of Technology. My name is Madeline Conover, and I'm the Director of Admissions for CatholicTech. And our program tonight will allow you to hear from a few key people. We have some faculty on the call, some founders and staff. And just to give you a general roadmap for the conversation, we're going to start with the founding of Catholic Institute of Technology, then the fellowship requirements, why you're all here, I assume, and then a tentative agenda for the year for Cardinal Newman Fellows, as well as academic programs, research, campus life and faith formation, and then closing it out with the application process. So to begin, in essence, the Cardinal Newman Fellowship is an accelerated 3-year undergraduate program with an inaugural cohort of the Catholic Institute of Technology. The Newman Fellows will have the unique opportunity to contribute both academically and professionally to our university. So it's a very important role. In essence, we'd like to give you some information about the mission of CatholicTech. So I'm going to turn it over to one of our founders, Alexis Hawkey, an MIT engineering alumna and current PhD student in MIT's Sloan School of Management. Alexis?
I was muted there for a second. So CatholicTech was really born out of a vision to integrate faith and reason. And it's something that's very true in our world right now, that people feel that there's a conflict between the Catholic faith and the truths of science and engineering. And this hasn't been the case all through history. This is somehow a new phenomena. Catholics started the university system. Catholics were some of the first people to produce great breakthroughs in genetics and computer science and astronomy, but somehow that's been lost in the mission of the church recently. So that's a tradition that we're looking to build on. And our location in beautiful Castel Gandolfo is a great example of how we're building upon the previous tradition. It's long been considered the hub of Catholic science in the world. So we're really on a mission to create an environment where our Catholic faith is able to thrive while students get the best science and engineering training that's possible. We're looking to create a community of saints, scholars, and scientists who are able to go into the spaces of science, technology, and academia and evangelize those spaces that have become so secularized and so hostile to the faith. And we're very excited to have the Cardinal Newman Fellows because we know that you guys have had a fantastic formation. You're very strong in your faith, and you'll be able to bring that to campus for our undergraduate students. So I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm sure you all have questions about what the coursework looks like, particularly for freshman year, but we can also talk about how it's similar in following years. So we do require that everyone who enters the Cardinal Newman Fellows Program and anyone who enters the university in general has at least one semester of calculus. So if you took it in high school, this is the equivalent of calculus AB, or I believe it's IB, lower level calculus. It's also possible that you've taken it during your time at one of these Newman Guide schools, or you're also welcome to take it the summer before. There are lots of different universities that offer that. So the first semester is Calculus 2, which is integral calculus, and an introduction to computer science and an introduction to Italian. The next semester is multivariable calculus and mechanics, as well as philosophical questions in science. And the next semester is Physics 2, linear algebra and differential equations, and a philosophy and theology course on theology and bioethics. And then during the summer quarter, you'll have a course on research methods and the opportunity to start your undergraduate thesis. And across all of the different quarters, you'll have work obligations. So it really is a work study program. Sorry, can you go back for 1 second? So what happens, for example, if you've already taken Calculus 2 or you've already taken an introduction to computer science class? We'll talk about it in a little bit more detail coming up, but you'll have the opportunity to participate in an independent study, which will be either a teaching assistantship, research assistantship, or internship that will be supervised one-on-one by one of our fantastic faculty members. So, you are going to get these slides, so I won't go in too much detail about the academic calendar, but classes begin September 9th, and we have a very generous academic break between the fall and winter quarters that goes all the way through Thanksgiving to after New Year's. In terms of what's strictly vacation time, you'll get a week of vacation at the end of each quarter. And the rest of the time during academic breaks, you'll only have 20 hours a week of your on-campus jobs. So that gives you additional freedom to travel and things like that. And as I mentioned, the summer quarter is going to be spent doing a capstone project or researching a thesis. So that's the addition of the summer quarter is what's going to allow an accelerated degree program. Just quickly, I want to think about a day in the life of a Cardinal Newman Fellow. So this is what you might expect from Monday through Friday. So we will have morning prayer in the morning. We will do morning prayer, midday prayer, and evening prayer out of the liturgy of the hours. So that'll start a little bit before classes. You can expect to have your classes from 9 to noon every day, followed by math, lunch, and then 3 hours of work at your respective jobs, followed by dinner and evening prayer. And then in the evening, you'll have time to do additional coursework. And then one of the nights a week, you'll be assigned student life duties to handle during that time. So that could be anything from planning extracurriculars to serving as a resident assistant, to just helping out with our Dean of Student Services.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexis. And we'll talk more logistics, but I think now it would be great to introduce our Dean of Academics, Dr. Jeff Kleck, so that we can get to the heart of some of the curriculum and kind of what makes our curriculum unique and special. So Dr. Kleck is also the chair of entrepreneurship and technology commercialization at CatholicTech. And he has been a professor at major universities, including UCLA and most recently Stanford. And he's been a highly successful tech company leader and tech venture creator over the course of his career and is an experienced expert in multiple disciplines and categories of science, engineering, and technology. We're so lucky to have him. He's also served as a special advisor to the United States government. So Jeff, if you don't mind telling us a little bit about our courses of study to begin. Oh, and I apologize here. Can you unmute?
There, that always helps, doesn't it?
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. And I really enjoy being here. This is a great topic to go over. I love it. So let's hit first the academic programs at CatholicTech here in our inaugural year, 2024. Biology, biomedical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, computer science, and mechanical engineering. And, I'll speak a little about these, and we can certainly go into more detail. From just on a global level, these, we've kind of handpicked these particular engineering and science fields as, kind of foundational to engineering and also, let me call the foundational components of all the engineering fields. So mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, I think are two of the better base engineering programs you can ever have as any engineer. And then, of course, if you're going to be, working in the interplay of human infrastructure, natural systems, and architectural design, civil engineering is the way to go. Biomedical engineering and biology, these two unique attributes to these programs. They both complete the U.S. requirements for pre-medical coursework. So if you're interested beyond either of these going into medical school, you will have completed the coursework during those two programs. So the mechanical engineering, again, foundational engineering. I call it foundational because I'm a nuclear engineer. So much of nuclear engineering is mechanical engineering, and having a great foundation in mechanical engineering is so important to the field of nuclear engineering and other engineering fields as well. Likewise, electrical engineering, so foundational to many other fields of engineering, specialties in engineering. Aerospace is a good example. I think this is a very good first year in terms of what we have to offer. I really love the program here. Let's see, let's move on a little bit. And I know Alexis talked a little bit about what we're going to have the first year. Of course, in addition to the STEM courses, the calculus, physics, chemistry, and biology over the years, then there will be specific courses in the specialty areas. And then, of course, our humanities and theology and language programs as well. So with that, let's jump over to industry partnerships and internships. And I'll speak a little bit about that. Okay, so I think this is one of the things that really differentiates us. We have such a great student to faculty ratio, 6:1 is what we've targeted here, that allows us to really focus in on industry partnerships. This is in my category, but all the faculty are involved to make sure we have research organizations and institutions as opportunities for internships. And that includes academic research organizations, private research institutions, and public and government as well. I've worked in all three of these categories. I mean, they're wonderful opportunities in them. And of course, students don't need to know coming in exactly where they'd rather spend their time. We can help them as they start in the program to learn more about these, and will through a seminar course that exposes the students to all of these opportunities. And then, of course, they will help us figure out where they would like to spend their time. On the industry side, companies, tech ventures, and even venture creation, those will all be part of the program at CatholicTech. We have very strong relationships with many companies. You can see my background is a background of the Silicon Valley. I am in the Silicon Valley, have been here for over 30 years now, and have built many companies myself. So we're going to be having a great time figuring out student by student where the best place is for each of them to go. So I'm happy to answer any questions as we go on, but I'll turn it back to Madeline to give us our next speaker. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Kleck. And I'm super excited to introduce Kevin Greenman. He is our assistant professor of chemistry and chemical engineering. Kevin studied chemical engineering at University of Michigan for undergrad, and he's now at MIT, where he's defending his dissertation in May for a PhD in chemical engineering and computation. He's also a National Science Foundation graduate research fellow at MIT, and I'm excited for him to share a little bit about research philosophy at CatholicTech and some of the capstone projects that you can encounter as a Newman Guide Fellow.
Thank you very much, Madeline. Happy to be talking to all of you today. Some of the opportunities that you'll have a chance to look at Catholic Tech include real world engineering projects. So I can say from my own experience, having some industry experience going and working in a pharmaceutical company, for example, or for Microsoft was a very big part of my educational experience, and being able to put what I was learning in the classroom into the context of the real world, and then also take some learnings from that back into the classroom, into my research. And that's really shaped my educational experience. So I think it's really exciting that Catholic Tech from the start is pursuing this as part of the Newman Guide program, helping you connect with research labs and places in industry to do capstone projects. Additionally, you'll have the opportunity to do a seminar in the foundations of academic research to learn about the ins and outs of how all of that works, as well as to complete a thesis project with me or with one of our other faculty members. We can talk a little bit about that on the next slide. And in addition to that, placing you with opportunities for research at other institutions as well. So during my undergraduate, Madeline mentioned I went to Michigan, but I also spent a summer working at Purdue University doing research. And that was really important for me, giving me perspective beyond just the professors I was used to working with. And I was able to work in a different research field than the professors who I typically worked with in undergrads. That would be the case for this as well, that we have a great faculty at Catholic Tech, but by going to another school, you'll get to expand your horizons, broaden your network. That'll also be a big help for pursuing graduate degrees. They really like to see when people have experience at more than one institution. So that's a good segue into talking about research assistantships, teaching assistantships, internship opportunities. So one of the things you'll have the opportunity to do if you place out of a course is to engage in one of these kinds of assistantship opportunities. So as I mentioned, one form that could take is doing research with one of the faculty members. So myself, I do research in basically computer science applied to chemistry. So looking at things like how to use artificial intelligence methods to discover new drugs or to discover new materials for photovoltaics or things like that. And we have a lot of other great faculty who work on other interesting projects. You could check out our website to learn more about that. So that's just a few examples of things that you might be able to work on.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. So I do think that we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the work study program and faith formation and kind of how we see some of those going hand in hand. So bear with me. First, as Alexis explained, this very much is similar to a work study program in that all fellows will have a part-time campus employment that may take the form of a research assistantship. It may take the form of a campus job with admissions or marketing and comms. Maybe it's with development and institutional advancement. The way that we envision setting this up is following acceptance to the fellowship program, we'll treat it like a ranking system where you're able to interview and talk about of the categories that are most interesting, kind of where you place your professional interests, your goals, and your career ambitions. And then we'll be able to go through an interview process with some of our board members to set you up, and respective departments to set you up and hopefully place you in your top choice, but at the minimum, close to your top choice. So that's an important component. Part-time work will be a maximum of 20 hours a week, but 5 of those hours we also want to incorporate into student life, and faith formation is an important component of that. So coming from Newman Guide schools, this is you're no stranger to these things. We're really excited that, all students will, on the curriculum side of things, receive minors in philosophy and theology, but also on the day-to-day side of things, they'll be able to participate in daily mass, liturgy of the hours, confession, and ample opportunities for the sacraments and Bible studies, discipleship groups. But a lot of that is successful based on like student activity and involvement, and we envision the fellows being leaders and getting a lot of that off the ground. So 5 hours a week of your part-time work will include student life initiatives, faith being an important component of that, but also fun things as well. So extracurricular, not that faith life isn't fun. It's very important and integral. But on a more lighthearted note, I would say extracurricular sports activities, volunteerism, and ways to get involved in the Castel Gandolfo community. These are all things that we really see because you are already coming from having an undergraduate background and you know what it looks like to have a flourishing campus community, or to see pitfalls of your own experiences, maybe in clubs that you wish could have been run differently, or clubs that you didn't see, the honoraries that you would have loved to have on your campus, things of that nature, just in the way that we want to have you be self-starters in your careers and leaders and shakers in your professional life. We see this starting at shaping campus life at Catholic Tech as well, because you'll be slightly older than our traditional students that are coming in. We see ample opportunity for mentorship, kind of a trickle-down effect, if you will. So you'll be able to receive a lot of mentorship and personal development and investment from our professors, faculty, clergy, and religious that are either on faculty or on staff. And then we see you, implementing that and shaping the younger class or the younger cohort as well, and being able to really be leaders on campus. So that's a little bit about kind of how we envision this fellowship to go. And really, when it comes to starting a new university, initiative is the name of the game. We're really looking for bold pioneers, and that's how we see the Newman Fellows fitting into this vision so perfectly. So I'd like to transition to talking a little bit about the admissions process, financial aid, and the general timeline. So the application, if you haven't started it yet, you can go to apply.catholic.tech to start your application. It is very similar to a traditional undergrad application. The only difference is that you do need to submit your high school and college transcript. So do keep that in mind. For ACT, SAT, or CLT standardized test scores, we do not have a preference. We will accept the highest composite score of any. And then there are essay prompts and 2 academic letters of recommendation that we require. We also require an admissions interview that you can reach out to me to schedule, and I'd be more than happy to set that up. And then we highly recommend an extracurricular resume, though it is technically only recommended. You should treat it as a required supplement, because at this point you have plenty of things to furnish a resume with, and we want to know you as an individual, and that's why each of these components is a part of our application process. To give you a sense of timeline, it is the end of January. And so our first round 1 application review is coming up on Friday. It's very soon. Some of you I know in this meeting have already started or finished your application. So congratulations, that's great. Admissions decisions will be made within 2 weeks of that application round. If we need to do, we have room for, Alexis, can I share the target number of fellows? We're looking for around 20 to 30 Newman Fellows in our first year. And so if we hit that number before March 1st, then we would not necessarily need a March 1st round, but we anticipate being able to accept applications at that point as well. You'll hear back within 2 weeks, and then the timeline is a little bit expedited as opposed to what you may remember from when you initially applied to college, which would be May 1 as the big date. We would like an acceptance and deposit deadline of April 15th. And that's because of a lot of logistical reasons, like getting you on campus to move in. We're anticipating a late July move-in and spending the month of August with professional onboarding. And then classes don't begin until after Labor Day. So you'd have time to acclimate to campus life in Italy and sort out any, questions you have with your new supervisor or professor, whoever you may be working with. So that's our short-term timeline, though you saw at the beginning of the presentation, the long-term timeline as well. I believe that closes out our slides, but I'd like to open it up for Q&A, because I'm sure there are a lot of maybe nitty-gritty questions. Feel free to either drop it in the chat or come on live and ask the question. But otherwise, thank you for your interest in the program. We're really excited to be able to offer it to students as an opportunity to further their education, and also further the churches and Catholic involvement in science and technology. So it's a very exciting endeavor, both for you, the individual, but also for the world. So we hope that you'll come along. Are there any questions? Awesome.
Hey, this is Emily Palm. I do have a few
Hi.
questions.
Yes,
My
Emily.
first question is Catholic Tech accredited?
Great question. So we are going through the accreditation process with both ABET and NECHE. That's the New England governing body for accreditation, regional accreditation in the United States. The final process or the final finish line of that is to graduate a class. So we are doing everything to be ready for that graduation. And the Newman Fellows are a large part of that because they accelerate the timeline of that accreditation process by a year. So Alexis, you can fill in the gaps of my answer with any questions or anything else that you'd like to mention, but that's kind of a window into how long it takes to go through accreditation. You have to graduate a class, so that's the last little cherry on top. But everything else is set to move really smoothly.
Yeah, I will add, and it's not super relevant, but it's more relevant maybe for other colleges that aren't making such a big push to be ready to be accredited as soon as a class graduates. But any accreditation does apply retroactively. So I believe ABET, for example, does require a 4-year degree to graduate. So that would happen the following year, but the accreditation would be retroactive.
Thank you. Are there other questions?
Yeah, I do have some additional questions. So with regards to the fellowship, I just want to make sure, is that a full 3-year covering where that's the board tuition and then a stipend is covered for all 3 years?
Yes, that's correct. And in an acceptance letter, there would also be that scholarship like delineated clearly with the terms of 3 years so that you would feel confident that it's, for 3 years, but it just like a traditional acceptance letter from your first go around to colleges, it's locked in for the entirety of your time at Catholic Tech.
Awesome.
Do you have other questions?
Yes, I was wondering, is there an estimate to what the monthly stipend would be?
Yes, I think that Alexis, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I think it's approximately $500 probably a month. In addition to the fact that you get your room and board and everything else covered. There are also additional opportunities to do things like teaching assistantships and research assistantships when you have time for any classes that you skip. So you are paid a small amount additional for any research or teaching assistantships.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have 2 questions in the chat. One on the course load for someone graduating from a Newman College with a double major in philosophy and theology. Alexis, do you mind answering that one? And then Jeff, I'd love if you could answer resources for students finding postgraduate opportunities in the United States.
Yeah, sure. So there is like a cohort type model. So basically what I showed, that was like a representative first year. Everyone stays on that same track and is just able to place out of particular courses based on their background, and then you need to take a placement test. But the philosophy and theology courses that we offer are lighter in terms of like the number of credit hours that they are, but also they're advanced and application based. So you're not going to be taking the same course. All of you guys have great formation in philosophy and theology. Obviously, not everyone will have it to the level of a double major in philosophy and theology, but you all have some good formation, which is why the philosophy and theology courses we still think are important to have, but they will be application based. So you'll do applications to like biomedical engineering and bioethics, AI ethics, things like that.
Sure. Thank you. I'll jump in to answer the next question. So the question is, what resources are there to help students find jobs after they've completed their degree? It's interesting. Finding a job starts literally the day the student walks into Catholic Tech. That internship program and finding the interest area for that particular student and all those categories that we mentioned is what we start doing even before the student walks in. Once they're there and they start developing their interest and of course getting experience in the field and the category and the job type that they'd like to pursue long term, we start with the first step, which is getting them towards internships that help build that resume so that they can essentially have an opportunity before they even leave Catholic Tech in terms of creating a career path. And then once they've graduated, we're hoping that they will graduate already with a job. And if that's not the case, we'll be there to continually help identify opportunities for them ongoing. You shouldn't think of this as you're here for an education and then we throw you over the fence and you're then finding a job after that. We want to stay very connected to the students and the alumni in that process and equip them to essentially have a job and be performing like an engineer in the field in each of those categories, be it research or commercial, whatever it may be, while they're a student. I think that's an important piece of the equation. And honestly, we get a better student back for that too. If you have internship experience and real work experience, like Kevin mentioned, then you're absolutely going to retain more and become a better product and more sought after when you get out of Catholic Tech. So we want to make sure that's the case for every one of our students.
Thank you. That's great. And I just answered another question about the general size, but if no other questions come in, I do also want to plug that while, like Alexis mentioned, this is a cohort-based program, so there will be a lot of similarities of what life will look like at Catholic Tech. I think that every applicant to the Cardinal Newman Fellowship is unique. Certainly, you're all individuals. But what I mean by that is that you probably have very individualized questions. And so I would like to plug contacting me to set up an information session. If you haven't done this already, it can also be your admissions interview, and we can basically do it Q&A and then also tackle that application material. But I do think that it's probably most helpful for if you're thinking of applying or if you're in the process of applying to talk one-on-one with us so that we can help you see kind of how you could fit into the Catholic Institute of Technology. We do foresee the fellowship being available in the future. However, and Alexis, you can probably speak to this better, but I think that we can only guarantee that the parameters of the fellowship will be as it is now for this year. And that by next year, it may shift in terms of how many we can offer, the requirements of it. So I would say if you are a senior who is applying or considering applying, or a recent graduate, and you're able to apply for this program and you're eligible to apply, I would suggest doing it now, as opposed to doing a gap year or things like that. So just one thought there. Alexis, perhaps you have more of a long-term insight to.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. We value our partnership with the Newman schools and we would like to offer this for as long as possible, but it does depend a lot on the number of freshman applications that we get.
And one other piece of that will also be master's and PhD programs. Once we have those programs off the ground, that also totally affects kind of where we're pulling students from. And we may suggest, a different type of partnership with the Newman colleges, as in like a 3-2 program that you may see at other schools. So all that to say, it's the perfect combination of time and opportunity if this is something that you're interested in terms of the funding of the scholarship and the opportunity to be a part of an inaugural class of a really important and exciting endeavor. So do we have other scholarships other than the fellowship? Not for the Cardinal Newman Fellows, if that's what you're referring to, but for our, traditional high school applicants, we do have a different type of scholarship consideration and need-based financially. This is a tuition, room and board scholarship, so we don't really have more to give. But like Alexis mentioned earlier, research assistantships or TA positions that are opportunities for students once they're on campus and a little bit more established. That is outside of or in addition to, I believe, their Newman Fellowship monthly stipend.
Any of you are welcome to apply as a traditional student, but likely it wouldn't make very much sense given your position.
So regarding that, I was wondering, should we not get accepted to the Newman Fellowship and we apply as a normal student? Is that something that's feasible, or is that if you don't get accepted to the fellowship, that's basically you won't be accepted for that year of college for even traditional applications?
I think that we will, like on an interest-based basis, allow people to roll their application over to a traditional student if that's something that you're interested in. I'm guessing it won't be that many people who are interested in taking that path, but be sure to kind of indicate that when you speak to Madeline, if that is the case for you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Any last calls for any questions?
This is John Spadaccini with Ave
Oh,
Maria.
hi, John.
How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So I want to see if I heard you correctly. You said that for the Newman Guide Fellowship, that the funding is available for the 24-25 academic year. So,
Oh,
or is the Newman Guide Fellowship available when the student begins in 24-25 until they finish the program?
exactly. Sorry, to clarify, the funding is available for this fellowship cohort. So for all 3 years that they are pursuing the accelerated bachelor's program at Catholic Tech. What I was saying in terms of like opportunity is that the fellowship may shift by fall of 2025 in terms of what the parameters of the program are. And that's why I was recommending to students that if they are graduating seniors or recent grads of Newman's colleges, that they should really take this time and opportunity to apply to the program, because it is as it is with the funding and scholarship secured for those 3 years for this entry
Cohort.
year, fall of 2024. Yeah.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
And we hope that it is also fall of 2025, but as we are a brand new institution, things are constantly in motion and things may shift by the next year. And so as just in terms of opportunity of scholarships, now is the time.
Thank you. And then, as you know, when it's time to talk about 3-2, come knock on the door at Ave Maria.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Wonderful. Well, to just go back to our closing slide, you can contact admissions at CatholicTech, but thank you very much for your time this evening. And we hope that you will remain in contact and we can answer any other questions that you have. We want to get to know you all as applicants, and we're really excited about the opportunity to have a really wonderful and faith-filled inaugural class, and you, the applicants in our Zoom room tonight, are a huge component of that. So know that we're praying for you and these next few months, whether that be to join us at Catholic Tech or other job and graduate program endeavors or whatever it may be. So please keep us in your prayers and be in contact. Thank you so much and have a great evening.